Okay, welcome to the Franchise Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Giuseppe Grammatico, your franchise guide. And today we have a very special guest. You've probably seen me on John's show, but we have John O'Connor, the president and CEO of Career Pro Inc. And just a quick little bio, in his 29th year of career strategy coaching and outplacement and best practices in career services, John has written 31 featured articles and has been cited in 100 plus expert panel quote publications for Forbes on career and workplace issues. He became the first private practice Reach branding certified specialist. I want to talk more about that in North Carolina, and is the first certified federal job search trainer. His diversified experience includes serving as a college professor and as a United States Army officer. John is a keynote speaker and corporate trainer, offering consultations, best workplace issue, and human resource services. John, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Giuseppe. Glad to be here on this bright and sunny day, wherever you are, people.
Yes. And I was just saying, just got back from North Carolina, the Outer Banks, and came back to rain and 20 degrees cooler. So not too happy about that. But
you're allowed to move, Giuseppe, just like everybody else from the north comes down to North Carolina.
That's it. Yeah, I'm next. Half my family has moved down there, so we're next.
Bring it on.
Yeah. So no, I wanted to, I was on John's show. For everyone listening in, we talked about the various vehicles in, career and jobs and owning businesses and kind of, figuring that path out. But before we dive into all that, tell us, John, a little bit about yourself. We touched on your bio, but just a little bit about yourself. How did you get into the business you're in right now?
Well, I was taking a look at getting my resume done, and I met with someone I thought was pretty credible. My wife introduced me to, and I got started because the person was like, "Wow, you'd be perfect to coach and write and encourage and help people." And I'm going to go pursue a life of comedy in New York City. I never found out if they made it famous, and you should talk to the person who's helping me with this business. So essentially, I was tutored by someone who almost brought me up like a franchise. There was a system, there was a way to do business. I had just finished my MBA. I was in the Army Reserves. I was, just fresh out of a couple of teaching years in college. And I thought, looking to put my wife through a graduate medical program at UNC, and I thought, this would be kind of fun. I like coaching people. I've coached hockey. I've coached sports. I played sports. I'm competitive, but I also like to, I like to help people. I like to write, and so it combined all the talents. But I had really a tutor, essentially, like a franchise mentor, who, for the first couple of years, if the business made X amount, I always owed this person, almost like the franchise, X amount per week. Okay. And so above that, I could keep. Of course, taxes and the government really got most of it, but it was an incentive that I really had never had before. And I learned how to, things I thought I knew, people I didn't know. And I didn't know, how, in business, you learn a lot of things, a lot of unwritten lessons, and also I had to compose and come up with and help people with federal jobs, corporate jobs. I'm in my 20s, and I'm having to work with people who are state government high-level officials on their collateral for their next big job with the government. All these questions, all these different writing assignments, all these different things. I didn't know what I was doing, in a lot of ways, but I had certainly the talent to bring it off. But I had someone to go to where I could ask questions, get advice, and even get projects done. And that, I would guess you really would call it like a franchise system. But after a couple of years, to make a long story short, the person had some financial issues. There was problems with the network she'd created with these offices. And she had me down to Charlotte and said, I want to know you've just done a great job. You've worked very hard. And, I'm trying to let go of these businesses, but I want you to have this one without any, I'm not any encumbrance. If you would pay some of my back bills. And so essentially, in a way, I bought it by having integrity and paying her on time and not stealing from her and telling her my business wasn't doing well. I think she had a lot of other, sites around the states, 3 or 4 states, that didn't treat her that well. And she said, because of your honesty and integrity, I want you to kind of take over this business and make it yours as much as you'd like to. And so from that day until today, I'm thankful to Shirley. I'm thankful to the tutoring I got. I'm thankful that franchise mentality. And so that probably gets you excited, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, systems in place that could be replicated. And I that's the stuff we like to talk about. So, but no, that sounds like, so, you talked about coaching, right? And there are a lot of coaches out there, and some comments I get, especially with the the internet. There's so much information out there. Why do I need a coach? Can I figure this out online? And something that we talk about is there's a lot of information, but how do you, number one, what do you do with the information, right? There's just like, I'm looking at a career change. I've been there, that career change, not knowing where to start. When I work with candidates, I work in reverse. Tell me what you want, and then let's figure out what's available, as opposed to let's look at 20 franchises and see if we can make them fit for you. And I'm sure it's the same as a career. What's your ideal career? And let's see what's out there. So we talk about the internet just get inundated with that info and not knowing what to do with it, but also that coach is holding you accountable. So I guess if you could talk about just, we talked right before the show, the art of coaching. So, the value coaches bring to the table in assisting with your career search.
Well, let's look at it this way, Giuseppe. Look at all the top performers. The easy ones to pick off are sports figures. Mm-hmm. I mean, here's a product of a North Carolina college, Davidson, Steph Curry. Why in the world does he need Steve Kerr? Right. I mean, why did Michael Jordan, another North Carolina guy, why did he need Dean Smith? Why did he need any of the great coaches, for the Bulls and so on? Why did he need those people? Wasn't he just good enough? Of course he was, but great performers, and we're using sports just for a second, basketball. Right. But in business, here's what I found. Top achievers in business ask for and often get coaches, right. Executive coaches. They're assigned. Why are the top performers getting that? Whereas early career people, mid-career people, people even that aren't in that executive ranks, that aren't eligible for executive coaching, a lot of those, and I'm going to pick on them, and I'm going to pick on a little bit of the companies. Sometimes there's no coaching available there, or they don't hire it out.
Right.
They don't really believe that they need someone to provide advice, or they'll take advice from the internet. They'll Google something and think they know it all. You know what? The art of coaching to me is that you really help. Nobody gets and achieves on their own. So I think it's such an important thing to integrate coaching alliances and hire a coach who is dedicated to you. When you hire someone, they should be dedicated to you. I know there's mismatches sometimes in coaching, but you need a franchise coach. You shouldn't try and do it on your own. Just like I had a capacity for writing, and I should be writing and editing and doing those things, I didn't know how to deal with people. It took me at least 2 years, and I don't think I've still figured out people. I needed someone to kind of walk me through when someone, wrote a bad check, or how do I process someone who isn't telling me the truth? Or, I mean, just like those things were very foreign to me, but wiser souls have gone before you. I think, especially when you're changing your life and career for a career opportunity with a corporation, an organization, or a nonprofit, or looking at a franchise, get coaching, get help, integrate it into your life and your career as early as possible, not until you're handed to you at some executive rank. Right. And I think we see this in sports. I think we see this in, in business. And I'm such a proponent of that. You don't have to hire a career pro. You don't have to hire John or Giuseppe. But my goodness, really start thinking about integrating coaching early in your career and anytime you're making a big decision. And I think the big thing is find someone with a track record in the business, not someone who's just got a new way to do things and a new shiny object. Get professional, thoughtful coaching. And that doesn't dispense of the mentors and the sort of board of advisors you always had. Right. But I'm just obviously such a proponent of coaching at all levels.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And actually, a misconception is with even going back to franchising, you have the franchisor, they're there to support you, but they don't take the place of a coach. When I had my first franchising business, I had hired a coach prior in helping with that decision and then during the process, because they looked at specifically my business, but not just my business, but we looked at what was most important. We looked at scheduling and putting what they call the rocks on the calendar. So it wasn't work, had nothing to do with the work. It was, soccer games and practices. It was dance recitals. It was date night with my wife or lunch. And we put that all on the calendar. And that's not something the franchisor or anyone else is gonna tell you. It's prioritizing, because I forget who or where I read this, but if you're at a job and your boss gives you a week to do a project or a month, you'll still figure out to finish that project in that week or month, because the pressure will be on. You'll finish it last minute and you'll just get things done. So I think, when you change your mindset and have that coach and have that coach not just tell you what to do, because we can read that online, but hold you accountable, hold your hand and ask, well, did you follow through on our last coaching call? And you say no, you're gonna feel like crap, right? They're gonna really just bring it down on you. So I can't stress the importance. And to your point, find a good match. I am not the only franchise advisor or coach in career transition working with yourself. You want to find someone that's a good personality match that can really assist you. And interview people. Interview if you have to.
Interview them, but also think about track record. Think about, do values align? I mean, do you guys? You don't have to agree on the how to get there exactly, but make sure that the person is in it for the right reasons, the heart reasons. We line up very well with people who truly want to pursue their work-life mission, not just get a job. It isn't just about money. It's partially about that. But I've had I've helped people who've been laid off, let go, outplaced. I've had people go back. Some of our success stories are people that can 300 plus go back to 150, or someone who's gotten beat up by the corporate world. And we said, it's time. I think it's time to start your own business. I mean, after really giving us their best shot, and that was the best decision. But someone who cares about you and is about your best interest isn't ramming you through some preset system, is really a wise counsel. And you can't have enough of that in your life or career. It will change your life. And, I don't sit back and look at my clients and go, look, they're all my children. I've influenced them completely. But I think coaches that I align with really feel like, hey, we know the impact they and we take it very seriously, and we know it's a gift we're given to be able to influence people, and we want to help people achieve more of their work-life mission, not be dissuaded from that or pushed in a system or, sold the timeshare. So I guess what I'm saying is find your Phil Jackson.
Right. I like that. That's actually very, very well said. And I'm glad we're definitely on the same page there. Another thing that comes up, and this is around the idea of building your brand, and a book I read, I think it was towards the, and we may have talked about this on one of our calls prior, was by, it was The Action Coach. It was called Who Not How. And, it was a very short read. They had it on Amazon. I think it was a 99-cent ebook, and they had it on sale around Christmas time. And it talks about, not figuring out how, but it's more of the who can get you there. The who is the person that has the experience to your point. What is their track record? Who do they know that can kind of expedite the process? And, and that has to do, and that essentially goes along with networking. Who's in your networking circle? Who are you talking to? Who do you know that can make the connections for you, as opposed to you figuring out every aspect and how to go about certain things. So talk to us a little bit about kind of building your brand and the importance of networking throughout your career, not just until you get your first or next job.
Well, everything that you do is building or breaking down your brand. I think that you do at your job, in your business, the decisions you make, the choices you make online. I mean, you don't want to be so frazzled that you don't take any action. And you may be in a career where you're kind of hidden. You don't need to take, any kind of digital presence to the market.
Right.
But look, your network is so important to nurture it, to build it, to really build a trusting, caring, thoughtful, impressive network. And you always want to be looking in the future, even if you're like, look, I'm an admin at this, and I don't see myself changing. Well, I guess that's good enough. Maybe your network's your church, your family, the people you work with, and you never get out of that your whole life. But I think we're more addressing people who say, I'm not sure, what my position will be in 1, 2, 4, 5, 10 years. Maybe I want to consult part-time and do volunteer work and lead a volunteer organization. Maybe I want to, help kids in my community full-time, and I don't care if I'm paid for it in 10 years.
Right.
Well, you better have a plan. You better have a coach. You better do that. Maybe you want to climb the corporate ladder. Maybe you want to eventually get to a point where it's, it may be time for me to open up my own business. But building a network of trusted, thoughtful, experienced people who really, in a way, I would say, have your back, who become your team, that takes a lot of effort. And it's not just about adding people to your LinkedIn. It seems like networking's just gone away from building relationships and being curious and finding out what makes people tick and getting down to the personal level. But most of the executives that I know, like really high level people who are responsible for companies, and the ones that I admire, not the ones who are just climbing, I think a lot of those people are like, how did they get there? How did they do it? Was it some unbelievable thoughts in finance? No, it's a lot of times it's because of the relationships they build, of course, the skills that they have, but also the trust that the people around them gave them to take on these bigger roles and bigger responsibilities. And I think in your network, you're buoyed by the people you run with. Think about, when we were teenagers, the troublesome kids, not that we were ever troublesome, but that you might have run with, and your parents said, I'm not sure about you hanging around. Well, those people, and, they didn't want to be judgmental of your friends, but they said, why don't you run with the people that seem to be going somewhere in life? That was essentially the message that my parents gave me. And sure enough, the fun, crazier people sometimes were the people you lean toward. But where were you going with that pack? And where might you go with the people who care about you, want to see the best for you, and really are kind of challenging themselves to not be, standard in your life? And I think building relationships, like you alluded to, people will reveal little secrets in the way they got there and the way they built relationships that you can't even imagine. And a lot of times it'll come down to, you get to know Giuseppe enough, and you find out his real hot button is his family and his kids. And you begin to go, you know what, then, that's something I know about him that he's entrusted with me. And I know he's going to go the extra mile for his family, but he's not going to do it just for a dollar bill. Well, that's interesting. That's motivational. I know this person has aspirations for their kid to go to Yale or Harvard or, maybe NC State or wherever. Like, well, why don't those people get there and realize that, all the things that motivate people aren't just on the surface. And to really build a network of trusting, caring allies, you got to get to know them personally, and you got to get them and have them become a part of your mentorship, coaching, in a sense, team. And I think when I see people thrive, they've got really a gang of, people going somewhere, almost like it's, in NASCAR, another North Carolina kind of product. The cars that are together in a bunch often pass up the front runners who are, many car lengths ahead just because of the sheer momentum. And that's what you ought to look at in your group is who are you running with? What are those relationships? And deepening those and building those to the real personal level is just an amazingly tough feat in today's constant information world, where you think just because you're in Facebook with 1,000 people, they're your friends, or you're on LinkedIn with 14,000 people, they're your friends. No, it takes a more personal relationship kind of mindset to do this. Anyway, back to you. Thanks for letting me rock on that subject.
I like that. And yes, I was, my parents raised me the same way. Who are you hanging out with, right? You're a product of your 5 closest friends. And, I have a teenager as well. So we have those conversations. So it becomes, full circle there. So no, that's great. So, the next question would be for you. And I know we're coming close to our end of the show here. Someone has a question, career-wise. They know what career direction they want to move in, or they're not certain. The pandemic. This has been a very interesting time. I get a lot of calls from people that had jobs that want to, not necessarily that they're a good fit, but they just want to explore business ownership. What does it truly take to own a business? Is a franchise $1 million? Is it 100,000? Someone that has those types of questions. I know that the people that after our first call, we find out maybe a business isn't the right fit. I would send them to you, to explore career opportunities.
Yep.
So what does the process look like? So someone is listening in. They definitely, maybe are on the job track, want to find something else, and they want to contact you. What is the best way? Do they go to your website? What do you recommend?
Yeah, they can interact with our media out there, but Twitter, Career Pro Inc. It's Facebook, Career Pro Inc. I think if you just Google Career Pro Inc. and you want to read some of my articles and catch some of our podcasts with the great Giuseppe Grammatica and others, you can catch that on our YouTube, on our iTunes channel or through careerproinc.com. But that's all you have to do if someone asks questions. And I appreciate the forum and the relationship with you. And I think we're just getting to know each other, really, even though I think we know each other pretty well. And I think that's, we're in this for the long term, and whatever that is. And that's people's career life. That's really important to us. I think if you align with people who have your back, have your values, part of that team that you're putting together, even if you feel like, hey, I'm a top performer, I'm a mid performer, I'm in this, get caught up in the draft and get caught up with people that are going somewhere and going to the places you might want to go.
Right.
And never stop exploring and being curious or get bitter because you lost something or lost a job or had a setback. That's often a setup for a comeback. And, I think that's how we both look at these challenges that you'll face in your career life. And entrepreneurship, as is not for everyone. Corporate climbing is not for everyone. Maybe a steady career and other things. But I think really challenge yourself. This work life is worth exploring and worth stretching yourself. And that's what makes life special. You'll set great examples for your children or the people that you influence and people around you that you don't even realize. So get into that kind of joy of your career if possible.
Right.
And that's what I would leave the show with.
Right. Yeah. And I would add to that, just you owe it to yourself. You only live once. So, and your career is only so many years, so you owe it to yourself to really explore all your options and get educated. I think the worst thing a lot of people do, especially some people that I've spoken with recently, they assume this or they assume that. So that goes back to a coach, an advisor, a mentor. Speak with people that have and multiple people, get different viewpoints from people, and not just the successful business owners or the people that had successful careers. The complete opposite. People that maybe their careers didn't go too well. Maybe they were just in the wrong career. Maybe the commute was killing them. Maybe the business was not aligned with, their ideal lifestyle. So talk to people, face to face would be nice as we're getting hopefully back to normal here. Did you want to bring up, and we can also just add this to the show notes, networking, events, groups? Did you want to bring anything up?
I think just stay in touch with our media, keep up with us, link with me on LinkedIn if you want, John at careerproinc.com, and look to I just challenge people to stretch themselves and companies to take care of their folks. If you're going to let people go or build leadership into your business, we're very passionate about building leaders today and helping those leaders continue to succeed. And as you know, motivation is not permanent. It really takes it takes a day. It's like a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly kind of commitment, and you never quite get there. But the journey, with people that want to help you and encourage you and will challenge you, as you said before, and keep you accountable.
Yeah,
that's the name of the game. And you can have that at all levels. If you're not getting it now, go reach out for it. It's worth the investment of your time, your energy, and your life, because your life and your career life is worth this.
Right. Absolutely. I encourage everyone, definitely, very, very wise words, to reach out to John, take a look at the website. We'll add everything to the show notes. It's not about the destination, right? It's not, a lot of times, and I'm at fault as well. It's about the journey, how you get there. It's not just about making a ton of money and then being able to retire early. So I know in my 20s that was my mindset, and that's changed quite a bit when you start a family. So I'm one of those people where motivations change from money to now, how do I spend enough time with my family? And, oh, by the way, make some money along the way. So,
you got it, Giuseppe.
Well, John, listen, I know we're approaching here at 10 o'clock. It's been a pleasure. We'll have this release here in a couple of weeks and look forward to our next call.
All right. Looking forward to it, my friend.
Thanks again.
See you, bud.